You know, I'm always questioned by people who don't know me very well about how they can get out there in the public, be in the public eye, because they think there's so much money in being famous and having your name at the end of somebody's tongue, that somebody recognizes you all the time.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you think there's an automatic link from fame to money?
That's such a great point because I've had a lot of the Hall of Fame speakers on the show. And
Oh,
after, and they'll say it on the show all the time. They'll go, my first 100 at least speaking gigs made $0. I mean, they did it for free for years, some of them, before they made it money. And some of them are super, super successful now. I mean, Dr. Willie Jolly was on my show. I just saw him singing with Gladys Knight on something on his, I mean, this guy has this beautiful singing voice. He sang to me on the show, And if you could sing with Gladys Knight and you have that voice, maybe
oh,
you're going to make that kind of money faster, right? But in general, most of us are horrible the first few talks we give. You think you're great, and you look back and you're like thinking, you know what I mean? So you kind of almost have to give it away at the beginning, don't you?
do you remember when you asked me where my old tapes were?
I want to see them. Did you burn them?
Practically, yeah. A couple of things. But practically, they are in the garbage because I was so awful. I wasn't.
I've seen a lot of your videos, even that are older. There's not one awful minute in anything I've seen. I mean, I was watching on Joy Behar. I watched a bunch of them, and you're just so much. You're exactly what they want on those shows. Somebody's going to say the thing that's going to make everybody go, you know.
Okay, so let me tell you why we have had this discussion about you not wanting to be controversial, me wanting to be controversial, because unless I feel, and I mean, in all my edutainment that I have done, I feel that unless I shake that tree of coconuts, nothing will come down and hit somebody in the head and bring them to a come to Jesus moment. Nothing is going to get them to make change in their life. So
Well,
if
that works really well with your personality. And I think that Larry Winget has been on my show, who lives here in Arizona, who's a very famous speaker. And he wears his bolo tie and his outfit, and he gets up on stage and he goes, I hate speaking for a living. And whatever he says, you know what I mean? He just, and it works great for him. You know what I mean? Because yeah, you have to find the thing that works for you, that's your personality type. And I've had people give me suggested jokes to say that I would never feel comfortable saying, even though I think it's a funny joke. It's just not my personality to say that particular joke. And, I think certain things are funny, but it may not fly with the group. So I'm not going to give them a Monty Python joke in case nobody's a Monty Python fan in the group or whatever it is that I might find funny, right? So I think it's very challenging for these people who think that they're just going to get up on stage. They've gone to Toastmasters, for the last few weeks, and now they're just ready to go and they're going to make $1 zillion. There's a million really good speakers out there, and I'm in a lot of speaker groups on these Facebook, hidden groups that nobody knows about, of all these really famous people, and even they are struggling to make money right now with COVID because you can't travel, and companies think, well, you should do it for free because it's a webinar, and it's just really a hard time to make the money.
Let me give you my take of this whole Hollywood Squares for
Thank you, Colin.
I truly thrive with a live audience. I love the live audience. I know how to present to them. I know how to draw from them because it's a give and take for me. I know how to seduce them. I know how to bring them to a mindset of change. I love that. And now all of a sudden, there's no audience. So here we are. And, I have to dial down some of my larger than life gesticulations. I have to dial them down, and that's okay. I understand. However, I miss my audiences because I miss taking that temperature check. to
Yeah, you
see.
don't know what's happening on the other end. You
Because
just
we
don't.
don't know. We don't know. I want to know if I'm pushing that button and if I can go further and further and further to take them.
Yeah, you get the reactions of people's faces.
I thrive on the reactions, but a lot of people are doing these things online. Well, and that brings us to the question as to how different must our skill set be from the live audience, and here it is, versus,
Yeah.
and here we are talking about what we're talking about.
You know, you sat through a talk I gave this recently, and about a week ago, and it was in an academic setting.
No, I didn't sit through it. I
enjoyed it. You enjoyed it. Okay,
I
but
did.
what was interesting to me, because we did it through Zoom, it was for another university for which I've taught, and they had, because I had slides which normally are up behind you somewhere and you don't really pay attention to them, they had, my square is about the size of an inch of while I'm talking, and the speaker's no bigger than anybody else in Zoom sometimes, depending on how they format it. So this is a very tough time for anybody to even see the speaker. And if you're my age, you couldn't have seen me anyway, because I was about this big. and so the gestures and anything I did, nobody would have seen anyway in that setting, which is really different. But that was an academic presentation more than it was a thing that like at SHRM, where you're up on stage, or if you're wherever you are, but that I give these talks. But when they use this technology, and especially if they're putting your presentations up, which in this case, they wanted more content on the slide. So to see the content, you've got that taking up the whole screen. And then the speaker, along with any co-presenters or anything, are so little that you have to do everything with your voice, because there's nothing that's happening with your face.
So it becomes the 78%, almost like you're on a telephone. 78% is your voice intonation, not your words, and only 22% is your words when you're on the telephone. So suddenly you, as the size of a postage stamp,
right,
versus your big, the beautiful, you had beautiful slides, beautiful graphics. Do you do those yourself?
Yeah.
Wow. She is so good technologically.
Yeah, I like that stuff. Nerd alert.
Well, anyway, so she gave a fabulous presentation, but she was not the star. Her graphics were.
And we talked about it beforehand, how we were going to do that. And, you know, the weirdest thing is in the past, I mentioned SHRM, like a year ago when I gave a presentation at, you know, a couple thousand people at SHRM. My presentation was maybe a picture of something and no words or anything on it. You know, the graphics were just a picture just to kind of keep up with what I was talking about. Maybe if I was talking about baking a cake, it'd be kids with baking a cake or something, you know, but there was no like bulleted points or words or numbers or anything like that on it. But then, you know, it was interesting in that setting, they were complaining that they wanted slides with graphic, a lot of detail to go, and we talked about this on another show. So for this setting, because it was an academic setting, my presentation had a lot more take-home stuff, which I normally wouldn't do if I'm in a big group of people, because then they're reading the slides and you don't want them reading the slides. Right. You know what I mean? So it's so different who you speak with in a group, of how you present. If you're the postage stamp, if you're not the postage stamp size, if you're, you know, it's such a different world.